Everyone, I'm Eugene from the greater Boston area, and I am a former pastor turned spiritual innovator. So, a couple years ago, I founded a nonprofit ecclesial church innovation think tank. So, now that's kind of the work that I do and just trying to reimagine what spiritual community looks like in a fast changing world. And my role at Soularize is event director. And so, take some of my experience to try to weave together an event, a program that will be enriching for everyone. So that's me. Nice, good to be here, Spencer.
Thank you, Gene. My name is Spencer Burke. I'm down in Southern California, and what I feel the idea of how I serve within Soularize is I try to create just a safe space where I kind of believe more in composting than in grafting or trying to control. It's more of how can we create fertile ground for people and relationships to develop and for our own souls to grow as we do the work of creating change and innovation in our fields and business, as well as in sacred spaces. Um, Outside of it, I work with a group called E-Track, which is a journey of Enneagration. It weaves together the ancient wisdom of the Enneagram and a soulful journey and travel together for health and healing and service in the world. So then I think I'll take over the next shot. Is that all right? Okay. So they've asked if I would kind of talk a little bit about how we are moving forward. So this is like a little spark. You can kind of feel it. Some people have been to Soularize before, others is the first time. And what we're hoping is that we can continue the legacy of what has been a place of health, healing, and also then relational opportunity to move forward in the world individually, but also collectively in whatever way we might be able to find ourselves. So I think this is really kind of a preview. Like this is, believe it or not, our 25th anniversary. We haven't done it every year. It's popped up. And so we want to bring the beauty of the relational aspect, kind of the bed and feeling of love and relationship to this conversation, but actually make it valuable for this moment in time and where we find ourselves, each individually, but even collectively as a community and as a world. And so with that, my hope is that we could come together in these moments. We've got 3 of these where we're trying to offer really what we're about before the meeting, kind of before we gather. That doesn't mean you have to come to the gathering. I know that it's a luxury for people to come to a gathering, but in reality, there's something different about a gathering. And so we'll do what we can do online. So you could check the website, you can see our documents, you can watch the videos, and that's one level of engagement. The other, then I think the second level is Zoom meetings like this. So we're gathering together and we're in conversation, and you can hear and see and feel some of the topics and the ideas and the relationships that are already building. But I think there's another level, and that is a level in which we take the opportunity to be together. And I just think there's something very unique that happens when a group of people come together, take the time, spend a few days together. And as you know, there are not as many conferences as before the pandemic. People used to go, right? So now we're really intentional on doing these and being at these things. And we've realized that in the past, most of the great learnings and understandings have happened in the hallway, or out at lunch, And so we've designed it more like that in mind, where it's not speakers talking to people, but we're in pods and groups, and we're listening and we're guided. And that hopefully is the desire. But I want you to know that Soularize at its heart and soul is the relational way in which we gather. And many, many wonderful relationships have started. And it's not, you can't belong to Soularize. It's not a brand. It's just a safe place, we hope, as safe as we can make it for people to gather and listen and learn from each other.
Mhm.
So that's the heart and soul of where we're at with what we desire to do.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll just share a little bit about some of the conversations that we've been having. This has been a nearly 2 year long process. And as Spencer mentioned, we're really trying to design for connection and for mutual learning and collaboration. But we do have a structure. Over the course of the 3 days that we'll be together, we have a 3 day arc. And these three events that we'll be having over these next few months are we're going to spotlight one of the guides that are helping to shape our conversation. And so this 3 day arc, the very first day, we acknowledge that people are going to be coming with a lot of heaviness, perhaps. And burdens and carrying things alone. And so we really wanted to welcome people into a space where people can show up as their whole selves and find connection and resourcing with one another. So the very first day, we're grounding in purpose, in resourcing and our healing, and trying to weave together a community where there's some trust built. And then the second day, we are going to be focusing on where are we finding hope. This is our opportunity to survey the field and learn from one another. What is happening in the field of spiritual innovation and change making? Where are we finding hope? And then on the third day, we're going to turn our attention toward the future and moving forward. So, what is next? What is needed? What is ours to do? How do we weave together resilient communities of mutual support and collaboration? And so that is the overall arc. And today we're focusing on that day one theme of grounding in purpose. And we're so excited to introduce you to Dr. Laura Calderon de la Barca. And I can only say that from our very first meeting with Laura, the word that comes for me is warm. It has just felt warm in a healing and a very comforting way. And her specialty is in working with collective trauma and healing. And so we have her bio on the Soularize website. Encourage you to go there, visit her LinkedIn page just to see some of the amazing work that she is involved with. But really, we wanted to take this opportunity to introduce Dr. Laura. And just from our own conversations, there's so much resonance with what we want Soularize to be. So Dr. Laura is the perfect person to be the guide for our day one experience. And so, Dr. Laura, hello. If you would unmute yourself and just say hello and kind of your intro of where you are coming from, that would be great.
Eugene, hi. I am delighted to be here and I feel so beautifully welcomed by you all. I am delighted to be with you guys and with everybody who's going to be joining us for this amazing experience together. I loved, Spencer, what you were talking about, really gathering together with this intention of nourishing ourselves, of being with each other. Um, and today I am welcoming you into my space in Oaxaca, which has been a really lovely place for me. And I'm also hospicing this place because I'm going to let go of it. And I feel that that speaks to kind of, that's a little fractal of many things that are
Mm,
happening in the world where there is, beauty and wonderful things happening alongside really tremendously, um, grief and pain and things that we're holding. And being able to have those two be held together by more than just one person is part of the
mm,
intention. And for me, the work with trauma has been an incredible adventure. My own healing process has been my biggest teacher, and I used to not be able to speak in public, and it was just
mm,
horrific for me to have to do that. My poor body would have just this massive survival reaction. And through that trauma healing work, I became capable of actually, showing up with my heart full of love and being able to share that. And it's made
mm,
just such a massive difference for me. And when I saw just the different layers of things that I
mm,
was holding and how it is possible to actually work through them and heal them, and how much more powerful it is when that happens when we are together. That was like, oh my God, I want to devote the rest of my
Mm,
life to this. And let's bring as much light that is held in our hearts, underneath the trauma, through the loving process of trauma healing back into the world so that we can then together, light this world with the best that we have to offer together. And that's kind of what I do in the different settings, individual work, with groups, with systems, with my
mhm,
work with Collective Change Lab, which has been an amazing environment for me to do that.
mhm.
So,
Thank you.
yeah.
We're so excited,
Oh,
just to
thank you.
not just learn from you, honestly, but to actually just be with you. I
Oh,
feel
that's
like
so
that has been
sweet. You
my
guys are
experience.
amazing. Thank you. I
There's
feel
like
so welcome.
there's a gift of presence. Of course, you're
Oh,
brilliant and you've got like lots of things to teach us.
oh,
But I do believe that there is this like warm presence that you bring. And so we couldn't be more grateful. So I'm going to ask just an opener question. I'm sure you're involved in lots of different conversations. When we approached you and we had our conversation and asked you to be a part of Soularize, why did you say yes? What drew you to this work and this gathering?
well, there were several things. One is that I really feel we need spaces like what you guys are wanting to create. Precisely because there's so much happening in the world that, and so much, the presence of trauma is so prevalent right now. And one of the main ways in which trauma expresses itself is through fragmentation. And so
Mm,
often we feel we're holding so much alone. And so coming together with other like-minded and like-hearted folks that are putting the best of their efforts to support the transformation that the world needs. When we come together, it's like there's a stronger coherence, like a love intelligence, like a collective intelligence for healing that gets activated, that is more powerful than just the sum of us individually. It's like one
mm,
plus one equals more than two,
mhm,
when we come together that way. And I really feel the difference those spaces make. And so, I really felt how important what you're wanting to do is. So I wanted totally to be part of this. Um, and the other thing is, I feel there's a lot of wisdom already sitting with the people who are doing this work that doesn't
mhm,
get enough of a space to be shared, to connect. And the other thing that I really loved about, the way that Soularize is being thought about is it's not so much centering around I write up something and I deliver it and people hear it and then the next, but really as a much more interactional space where we can hear from each other and we make room for emergence alongside having, the preparation for, structuring offerings, but offerings
mm,
that have an open, a component of openness so that we can bring ourselves into it. And it's not just, those of us who might be initially at the stage. It's like the stage becomes a much more horizontal thing. I
yes.
believe in collective intelligence. That's my other passion. I absolutely adore collective intelligence. And creating the conditions for that is precisely what I feel Soularize is about. And so I said yes because of that. And the third thing is because ever since I met you guys, it's like there's this pool of love energy that I need that in my life. And so I coming in, being around you, I felt that. I felt like
Mm,
really welcome and bathed in that. And I loved being inside
mm.
of that. So I was like, I want to do something with these guys. I don't even know what they're inviting me to, but I already want to say yes just from feeling that. So that was the other thing that made me say yes.
Thank you so much. That 100% resonates on every single level. I mean, just the fact that we're bringing together spiritual innovators and change makers, most of whom are doing this because we're responding to some kind of need that often in many of our stories comes out of some pain that we have experienced or that we have observed. And so we're showing up with kind of being healers, being innovators, but also being, bearing our own wounds and
Right.
having that space to lean into connection, collective wisdom, and love. That you've captured that perfectly, and you are that. And so
Thank you.
as we think about this first day theme, grounding in purpose, and maybe that word will evolve, closer to maybe it's grounding in something else that's that's resonating more strongly. We want to begin with connection. And so we're holding lots of questions that day, like, what are you carrying at this moment? What are you holding alone that we might better hold together? And also, how might we care for ourselves and one another as we navigate our world? So much uncertainty and chaos and change. And so, Dr. Laura, as the starting voice, kind of setting the stage in a sense, the guide for our gathering, I'm wondering what is resonating with you about that first day's theme as we gather. You know, what are you sensing is needed for us as a community?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I feel there's different things that are needed, but the first one is um, really offering an orientation of inclusion to
Mm,
both, as you were saying, we're holding some really heavy situations, and often it's not so easy, given there's so much happening in the world. Sometimes it's not so easy to just let go of that. And so being able to come just as we are with whatever we're holding, and also with the needs that we might come for connection, for grounding, for taking a deeper breath, for knowing that taking care of ourselves is an essential part of the work that we do. And
mm,
also to make some room also for other aspects that are very resourcing, like our creativity and feeling nourished, feeling taken care of, feeling
mm,
connected. To me, part of the power of coming together is that we allow this other higher order of intelligence, higher
mm,
order of power and care and love to become active, because it can only happen when there's more of us, you know?
mm,
And so really making room for that experience. So helping create a coherent space, as Spencer was saying, a space that feels safe enough for us to come together and have that nourishment of the soul that is being able to
mm,
show up just as you are. So for me,
mm,
that is one of the most important things. How can we make some space for people to come in and be as they are and feel welcomed, and also find some nourishing, slow things down so that we can catch our breath and connect to earth, connect back to our hearts.
mm,
Just, the spaciousness that starts to emerge and open up when we do that.
mm,
And then listening from there so that we can then create the conditions for the next conversations that we are meant to have. So for me, that's like it's a setting of the stage, a welcoming everyone the way we are, and making room for the heaviness that we might be carrying, but also for the beauty and the power of our togetherness.
mm. That is so beautiful.
Mm.
And I'm struck by how that is not the typical conference experience.
Right.
Um, and I'm hearing and feeling, I think we're all resonating with this hope that this is going to feel different when we come together. Our intention, what we want to see happen is more than just like depositing head knowledge or, being impressed by, somebody on stage. We're wanting to have a shared experience, as you described. And that feels really special and sacred. Um, and of course, we can't manufacture that, but I'm wondering if you could say a little bit more about, like, when you say create the conditions, right,
Yeah.
for that kind of conversation, for that kind of engagement. Like, what do you imagine happening?
So I see us doing kind of different things. First, kind of tuning to ourselves and
Mm,
giving ourselves some space to feel whatever emotions are present, whatever's happening in our bodies, whatever, noticing what our minds are doing and welcoming all aspects of us. And
mm,
then noticing the space that holds all of that, dropping deeper into that space, that our inner space, first individually, so we can take care of ourselves and really connect. And then from that place, starting to open up our perception to to feel others who are coming also, with whatever they're carrying, but also with an intention of, doing good in the world, but also being there for each other. And to start to lean into that and to feel what feels right and how much do I feel like I want to connect? How much do I feel that I need to stay maybe silent with myself? Like just really locating myself in what feels right to me here. And then tuning in however much feels right to us into the field that starts to become woven by us, through us, and then making some room for whatever we find. If there's something that we need to, I'd like to start with resourcing simply because if we're going to touch also on the heaviness or the pain that we carry, it's important to have woven a space, a field that can welcome that with love.
Mm.
So first connecting to our love, our care, and to Mother Earth, to what resources us from our connection to her, to our connection to our heart, to our connection to spirit. Inviting our ancestors and their intelligence to be in the room with us as well.
Mm.
And the more than human, our totemic spirit,
Mm.
our the whatever the land is, really well, honoring the land that we're going to be on and asking
Mm.
it to welcome us and to be a support for us. And then, seeing, okay, what needs to be welcomed into the space that might be more connected to more painful things or to stress or heaviness that we have brought in. And how can we, generate a movement that is welcoming and that can help either hold it and let it, express or, move through whatever needs to be moved through, find whatever settling can be found, or if not, that also to welcome that also, and just, be really that welcoming space for that.
Mm.
And then also bringing in more resources. And one of the things that I would love for us to be doing, and I thought I might share something that I've done, because I would love to invite creativity to be part of that.
Mhm.
So I want to introduce you to Tadeo, which is this little armadillo that it's an alebrije, it's a handcraft that I made, and that it's got a lot of different colors and little hearts. And I discovered later that it's got this kind of face, this eyes that I did not know were eyes and nose. And it's on the back, so it's kind of like our ancestors. We don't always see them, but they're always there. And so in engaging in creativity, I discovered some things. And I think that's part of what creativity does. It does something and we do something, and then it shows us what it is, and it kind of has a life of its own. And I think it would be great for us to do some of that together,
Mm.
and also some of that on our own, if that's what we feel like, and having spaces for that. That's the other thing that I see us doing.
Yeah. That's beautiful, by the way. That's really cool. Thank
Thank
you for
you.
sharing that with us. One, what I think really exciting part about having these conversations is like we're taking a very adaptive approach to designing Soularize. So even your suggestion now, great. I've taken note. Like this is helping to shape the time that we have together. And just the way you described this space was so beautiful, um, and something that I feel like so many of us long and ache for, that kind of space. Um, and like I said, it's not that we feel like we can manufacture it. It's more we're all just showing up with this shared need, and hopefully with vulnerability, and that space is created in that openness, right? And so I'm wondering if you um, if you could offer an invitation to people as somebody who is thinking about coming to Solarize, or is already on their way. They've decided they want to be there. If you were to offer an invitation to them, um, some way of inviting them into that space that you're helping guide, what might that sound like?
Hmm. Well, if what you have heard so far has resonated in your soul, we would love to have you with us. If you're somebody whose heart is asking you to, you know, contribute to participate in transforming the conditions that our world is in, and you find yourself wanting to connect with other like-minded, like-hearted, like-souled
Mm,
individuals, come join us. It's really going to be a gathering to nourish our souls and to invite our creativity alongside with some healing for us
mm,
together. And I think it's like a fractal, a little microcosm of what our world is needing, and
mm,
an invitation for you to really, show up. We really want to make the space for people to show up and be, you know, have a taste of what it's like to be in an environment that can see you and honor that desire, and leaning to each other so that we can together allow that collective intelligence for healing that the world is needing to express itself with love and creativity and spirit presence, and behind everything that we do here.
mm,
We'd love to
mm.
have you with us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Laura. Sign me up. Um, I'm gonna turn it over to Shayna, back to Shayna and Jason and Laura. Of course, you're part of this conversation, just for some harvesting, just like listening to what's resonating a little bit.
Great. Well, I'll share a little bit. It is really a feeling. It's not so many words, but just feeling I'm already part of this field that is Soularize here and now. With what you shared, how you're showing up, in that sense, I also want to invite, of course, uh, Samuel and Ihan and Mark, you all. My hope is that you also can share in this space. We'll take a moment, but I'm just saying for me, Jason, I'm sort of feeling that energy, and almost feels like a little microcosm of what we want to continue there with many of us, whoever can go in person. Um, so I think for me, that's one of the things I'm feeling in this moment, and want to open it up to anyone who wants to share. Again, we're all welcome. We're all part of this field, and you're welcome to share what's coming up for you. Go ahead, be brave. Just take yourself off of mute if you're willing and able, and just what's coming up for you based on what you've heard.
Yeah, I'm happy to get us started. Appreciate even creating this virtual space for us to get ready for the gathering. I'm excited about coming to Chicago in October. Um, I went to the last Soularize. I forgot exactly what year it was, but it was this fog of, post-pandemic, and really feeling like I really want to be in a purposeful gathering. And I was still in that kind of change maker part of my career, my life. And I think I was invited to the migration group at that point, and
Mhm.
I was doing a lot of work in that field, and always wanted to connect my spirituality with the change making world. So Soularize was that first instance where I was invited to, wow, there's people not just here in North America, but around the world that are
Yeah.
really trying to integrate spirituality with change making and innovation. And now I find myself, I think 2, 3 years since then, in a
Mhm.
role at the Nonprofit Institute at the University of San Diego. And Ihan is actually my colleague, and we get to do this work that Dr. Lara described in terms of really holding space for emergence for specifically change makers here in the San Diego region. Um, and we do all the things that we know it's important for the professional development of these folks, but we also know both Ihan and I have this sacred privilege of accompanying and being
Mm,
part of other people's lives where they are wrestling with trauma, they are wrestling with exhaustion and burnout, and um, find hard to find hope sometimes, right? In this moment of polycrisis. And so we get to do that in San Diego, and with also a lot of people that have come before us in terms of mentors and who have created these programs that we have now inherited. Um, and I'm really looking forward to connecting our little field here in the border region of US, Mexico, and Kumeyaay Nation and all the liminal spaces that we inhabit, and how we might connect to the greater field when we arrive at Soularize. So I was just grateful to be here.
Mm. Samuel, thanks so much for sharing. How beautiful. And what really is inspiring me in this very moment is just this also your whole self that you're bringing, both in some ways that you found others also who could show up in a gathering, whether it was in an earlier Solarized gathering as you shared, but also in this coming one, bring these different parts of you. And thank you so much for what you've shared. Beautiful. Others? Anyone else? You're welcome, whatever's coming up for you.
I'll say something. I
Thanks,
just
Shana.
I just love the I don't work in the fields like Sam, what you were talking about. So I work with people that are pretty shut down most of the time, and so the concept of interdependence is extremely foreign to very successful people in general. They are moving at their own light speed, and they don't want to tap into what they're afraid of what Dr. Laura was explaining about coming into a room and tapping into earth and then looking to see how did you put it? You said, yeah, the collective intelligence, and that is the upside down conference that we've been trying to create for forever. And almost more than ever, it's really become a time of fruition that we have somebody like you, Dr. Laura, to help ground us in that space where magic can happen, but magic is called interdependence, and it can be messy and it could be scary. So I just like how you kind of frame that. It's like an upside down. Well, we don't have an agenda. Agenda is to kind of create the agenda. I love that.
Mm. Thank you, Shana.
Yeah, if I could also respond, Shana, to what you're saying, I want to acknowledge that it is a brave space, that it takes courage to be loving.
Mm.
And, because part of what love is the capacity to be accepting of what is. And then that means that we're also accepting of the things we don't like, the things we're scared of, the things that are not socially acceptable, our wildness, like all these other things, and it takes courage to be able to embrace those. And so I also want to name that, that it takes courage to join and to also honor that courage, because it's not so easy. And I think that, often what is behind courage is the care we have for others we're serving. And, as it grows, the love we have for ourselves, when we can start to recognize that actually we're needing to be able to go deeper than what we've been able to do alone. And what I find so attractive about collective intelligence is that I believe that we all have had tastes of that when we're working in a team and things are really flowing. It's so exciting, like there's this creativity that seems to weave itself through us, and then there's a joy for me when I can just feel it flowing, and sometimes it flows through me, but sometimes it flows through someone else, and my job is to empower that person. But there is a dance that happens that to me brings a tremendous joy. And then when I see what happens when we are capable of that, that's when I have seen the most amazing things that I've been a part of happen through that. And I think we all have had, little tastes of that or big tastes of that. I've been blessed enough for having those experiences. But my sense is, wow, what could be possible if we go through a process where we invite that and we take that then out into the spaces that we're, like really supporting us to be like a little fractal of humanity, welcoming that collective intelligence. What can then be seeded? What new future? Because, this is the other thing. For me, the future is not so much tomorrow. If tomorrow, what happens tomorrow is the same thing that happened yesterday, then tomorrow is the past, if that's the same. The future, then, if it's not tomorrow, then what is that? The future is innovation. The future is what didn't exist before we actually started creating it and doing it. And that's what I want to be a part of, bringing in a future that can really support life flourishing more on Earth, us being able to heal, and the destruction that we're, wrecking on the planet and on each other, can become much more conscious. And those things that we do need to hospice can be hospice with an honoring of them. And we can include that in the loving way in which we engage with the world. So it's engaging with the wisdom that we all bring. We all have medicine to help create this. And I'd love to make more room for other people's voices and learning together
Mm,
how we do this.
thank you. Thank you, Dr. Laura. Yeah, and speaking of that medicine, Ihan or Mak, obviously you're bringing um, your, at least Ihan yourself, and I'm so glad you are also coming. I hear from Sam, and but I'm excited about what you all may bring. And Mak, we're coming to Chicago. We're coming to your place. Um, is there anything either of you want to share? And there's no pressure, but just want to open a little more space, and then we'll move on to one other piece. We want to respect people's time as well. Anything, please.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So, I'm sitting here after a whole morning of meetings,
Mm,
in our place of work that Samuel and I were engaged in. And one of the meetings we were discussing what to do with something, right? How do we
mhm,
build community? How do we open up space for emergence? How can we manage the tension between the system pushing down on us and us coming up from the grassroots and trying to do things differently, right? And different is scary in the system.
mm,
Um, and in the program that Samuel mentioned, it's a leadership development program that we actually call ourselves, our role as a guide. That's our role. We call ourselves the same. So that resonated. There's a lot of unconscious things that are happening, unconscious resonances that are happening even right now in this space. When I came in, I could feel it. I could see it. There were synchronicities that were popping up, and one of the learnings from our work in this particular program as guides is that this collective intelligence and this love intelligence, Dr. Laura, that you mentioned, when it happens with people that then become resonant with each other, not all of them together, but somebody in the room, right, resonates with you. Us as a guide, not knowing something is perfectly fine because somebody in the room will have that knowing.
mm,
And when the space is there and it's created to be for that knowing to percolate to the surface, then that collective intelligence becomes all of our intelligence, and the not knowing turns into knowing. So it's creating that space that we are looking for. It's a very big challenge for us. After this meeting, we have an evaluation meeting. We're trying to figure out how we can measure this, right? So we can get funding. So we're all kind of in that same soup. But yes, I'm very excited to come. And I'm aware of the connections that are here already, and I'm aware that there are connections here that I don't know about yet. Right. So, for example, Sam and I work with each other. I actually also know Makwamuk from a different context, and asked him if he wanted to come. And so there's a network growing already that has inserted himself into Soularize. So excited to be there.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So I apologize. I go on screen at the moment, but I am excited to be welcoming you to my hometown. Thank you for coming to my hometown. And I am feeling called to this event. I think of myself as having a foot in two worlds, artificially separating two worlds. But I am an executive coach and an organizational consultant and a group relations practitioner. So that's one world. But I'm also a practicing shaman, called to shamanism years ago and recalled recently. And just feeling myself called to this event and looking forward to being with you all at the event. So thank you for coming.
Wow.
So excited to be welcomed by a shaman from Chicago, my dear Mag. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, what a blessing.
Already.
Yeah.
Spencer, thank you. Spencer.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think what we're feeling right now is what it's about. So there is a sense that we don't buy advertising. We don't try to push people in or sell people on, like even like talking about guides. I mean? Like, it's not green rooms. That's not what we're about. It's about this. And so the thing that's amazing is that the people who are there, someone I think used even the word called, like there is something deeply spiritual about even the people entering the room. So I have real great high expectations when I enter the room, because I know that the relationships are there waiting to be cultivated. You see what I'm saying? I'm not really even going in because I've got to meet people and get their phone numbers and sell something. It's more of a relational moment that we can grow together. And there's no pressure in that setting. But what happens is, out of that time together, things happen. See what I'm saying? The seeds are planted, the compost is there. And then either just relationships happen, which are lifelong relationships sometimes, and sometimes they're just in passing. But other times, there are actually things that start to sprout and start to happen. And you look back and go, oh, I remember that moment together, because it can never, ever happen again, because the collective group of people who will be in the room will never gather again. And so I'm so just inspired by the idea of even those now of us on the call together, in this little to go like, wow, we could be together in Chicago, and what would happen? And like, that is the spirit of Soularize, I think. So
beautiful.
Thank you all for sharing. That was wonderful.
Thank you, folks. Well, to wrap us up, Shane, I'm going to hand it over to you briefly. There's just a few things we want to be really clear of opportunities. And maybe Shana, over to you.
Yeah, so we don't need to push registering for the event, because you guys are already you're already doing what you're doing. But if you know anybody, that's any businesses that are aligned with our mission, we're looking for sponsors. That's my job, is to raise sponsorship. I'll put my email in the chat, but it's also on the website. So that's one thing. Another thing is there are 2 more webinar gatherings, so please let others know if you feel like they need to be at least part of the conversation before or there. You could just share that. You could just share the link that's in the website if they just register, and it's free. So that's the 2 calls to action that we have for you.
That's great. And we also have another one called Learning Conversation. So part of the design will be, we have a set of learning conversation sessions, and we're inviting people who have something that they feel is right and would be beneficial for others to learn from. And so we want to invite anyone who feels that to go ahead and submit something. Let me support at soularize.org is
That's a
the
90, is that a 90-minute workshop, Jason?
yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So if you're so impassioned, or you know somebody that you feel like they should be presenting a workshop, please share this email so they could get us an idea. Like, we need something by the end of the month.
And
Yes.
if I might just say that we consciously call it a learning conversation, because again, even with Dr. Laura in a main session, we're not giving her the stage. You know what I mean? Like, that's not the goal. The goal is to say, how can we see what emerges together? And she guides us with that. The same will be true with the learning conversation.
Right.
So if someone's trying to sell something, that's not our game, you know, or someone trying to present a whole thing. But if they're willing to throw a spark in and then let the conversation grow from then, to the point where, like, even today, quite honestly, that's what's kind of cool, but kind of bad, you know, because we want to honor your time. But there's a sense that the conversation starts and it can't end. And that's the beauty of a learning conversation. And people go out and have the conversations and continue. So it's that when that conversation comes alive that you just can't stop talking. That's the idea, I think.
Thank you. All right. Well, speaking of ending, we do need to close for today, and the conversation shall continue, and our relationships, I believe, shall continue in these different ways. So I want to invite you to just put a word in the chat of something that's alive for you in this moment as you're checking out and moving on to the next part of your day. So just a feeling word, or just something to kind of close. Beauty. Thank you, Shana. Family and love. Behind. Beautiful. Collectives. Thank you. Love, Eugene. Mak Oi. Love it. Excitement and aliveness. I'm going to put gratitude. All right. Connected. Thank you, Spencer. All right, dear people. Thank you so much for your presence and your sharing. And as I mentioned, to be continued. Be well.
Blessings. Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you,
See you
everyone.
soon.
Everyone.
Bye-bye.
Okay, it's us.
Yeah,
Thought
that
was
was so beautiful. Oh my
yeah,
God.
it was really good. Thank you